Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the SWL DXing News Report. This is Andre in Johannesburg, South Africa, bringing you all the shortwave and general radio news from July 2026. Don't forget, the RSS feed link is in the YouTube description if you'd like to subscribe via your favorite podcasting app and never miss an episode. As always, this podcast comes out once a month, usually in the last week, with DXing highlights and radio news from around the world. I gather information from news reports, shortwave and DXing forums, Facebook pages, and directly from listeners to this podcast, who often send me fascinating clips and logs. All listeners are encouraged to send me any news about DXing, shortwave, medium wave, or radio listening in general. My email address will be at the end of the podcast. Highlights this month include several interesting developments from around the world. Voice of America has expanded its Korean language shortwave service to a full 24 hours a day. Radio Nacional da Amazônia from Brazil has reduced its shortwave operating hours. We'll also look at the latest developments around Radio Payam and the apparent disappearance of Iranian jamming. Radio Taiwan International has a special French language broadcast planned for August, direct from Taiwan. There is renewed activity at the historic USAGM transmitting site in Lampertheim in Germany, improvements to China's medium wave network, and two stories from the wider world of broadcasting. There is one about preserving Somalia's radio heritage and another one celebrating the remarkable success of community radio in South Africa. I also have a report from Sebastian in Lingen, Germany on the MLite-880 radio. And there are reception reports from Sebastian, also from Manuel in Monterrey, Mexico, from Liam in Colorado, and from Goranko in Serbia. The show ends with a short propagation forecast for August. Let's start with Voice of America. VOA's Korean service has significantly expanded its shortwave schedule and is now broadcasting around the clock on weekdays. Since the 13th of July, live programming originating from the Penang transmitting site in the Philippines is broadcast for 4 hours a day before being rebroadcast on different frequencies throughout the day. The expanded service is clearly aimed at audiences in North Korea, where shortwave radio remains one of the few practical ways of receiving uncensored international news. Starting July the 13th, VOA in Korean is on air Monday to Friday on the following frequencies, and the times are UTC times. From 1530 to 2130 on 9950 kHz from Penang. This is the live transmission. Then the rebroadcasts are all from Penang from 2130 to 0330 on 12140 kHz, from 0330 to 0930 on 15120 kHz, from 0930 to 1530 on 12140 kHz. Before these changes, the live transmission was from 1530 to 2030 on 9940 kHz, and the rebroadcast was 2030 to 0130 on 12130 kHz. Staying with USAGM and VOA, one of the biggest stories this month concerns the historic Lampertheim transmitting station in Germany. USAGM, which is the United States Agency for Global Media, has begun reactivating shortwave transmissions for tests from this site, after several months of uncertainty surrounding the future of Voice of America and other U.S. international broadcasting services. Lampertheim has an extraordinary history. It was built during the early years of the Cold War and operated with 8 100-kilowatt transmitters that beamed programs into Eastern Europe behind the Iron Curtain. Now, after recent budget cuts and restructuring, Lampertheim is once again transmitting shortwave test broadcasts. It joins other USAGM facilities in Florida, North Carolina, Kuwait, Thailand, Botswana, and the Philippines that have recently returned to service. Some of these services are regular services now, while others are still just tests. Exactly how permanent the test reactivations will become remains uncertain, but it is certainly encouraging news for shortwave listeners around the world. As always, if you're interested in tracking these broadcasts, keep an eye on the latest HFCC A26 schedules, which remain the best reference for current international shortwave frequencies. You can find a link to the HFCC schedules in the YouTube description. Thanks to a listener, Liam in Berthoud, Colorado, for drawing my attention to an important announcement from Brazil. Radio Nacional da Amazônia has reduced its shortwave transmission schedule because of technical difficulties and increasing electricity costs. During weekdays, 11780 kHz now operates from 0745 until 2000 UTC, after which broadcasts continue on 6180 kHz until 0300 UTC. Weekend broadcasting has been reduced even further. On Saturdays and Sundays, 11780 kHz is on the air from 0900 until 1800 UTC, while 6180 kHz is no longer used at weekends. Radio Nacional da Amazônia remains one of South America's most distinctive shortwave broadcasters, providing coverage across the vast Amazon region where other communications are often unavailable. DXers around the world hear this station. There have been some interesting developments concerning broadcasts aimed at Iran. Several listeners have reported that Radio Payam continues to operate, although its frequency changes regularly. The latest report from Arnie in Poland places the station on 11500 kHz. This seems to be apart from some of the other known frequencies, including 9930 kHz. But perhaps even more interesting concerning shortwave radio to Iran is that the Iranian jammers appear to be down. For many years, these jammers have accompanied broadcasts from stations such as Radio Farda and other Persian language broadcasters targeting Iran from outside the country. During the second half of July, numerous listeners, including myself, noticed that the familiar jamming signals had disappeared from many frequencies, in fact, from all of the frequencies. Listeners inside Iran confirmed that they did not hear the jammer. At this stage, nobody seems to know why, whether this is due to technical maintenance, operational changes, or some other reason remains unclear. It will be interesting to keep monitoring this and to see whether jamming will eventually return. Radio Taiwan International will once again be transmitting directly from its Tamsui transmitter site in Taiwan to Europe. Following successful special broadcasts to Germany in July, RTI will broadcast French language programming to listeners in France every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in August. The broadcasts will be on 15145 kHz between 1700 and 1730 UTC, followed by 11995 kHz from 1730 until 1800 UTC. Many medium-wave DXers have noticed that several powerful Chinese transmitters have disappeared from the air over the past few months. But these stations are not closing permanently. Reports indicate that the transmitters were being taken off the air temporarily while modernization work was carried out. Most stations have returned. The upgrades appear to be to prepare China's medium wave network for future digital broadcasting capability, probably using DRM. Some of these transmitters are very strong and can often be heard far outside China. Some of the affected stations and frequencies are 549 kHz, CNR1, 675 kHz, Mongolian radio in Chinese, 837 kHz, which is a 1000 kilowatt transmitter. In Guangzhou, it is CNR5, cross-strait radio, 909 kHz, also a strong one, 600 kilowatt in Guangzhou. This is CNR6. 1017 kHz, a 200 kilowatt transmitter. This is CRI in Korean. 1116 kHz in Nanping, a 600 kilowatt transmitter. This is CNR5, and 1593 kilohertz, a 400 kilowatt transmitter in Changzhou. This is CNR1. There were a number of other frequencies as well, which I'm not listing all of them here. Now for some general radio news. The first story comes from Somalia, where an important effort is underway to preserve one of Africa's richest collections of radio history. Radio Mogadishu, the country's national broadcaster, is racing against time to digitize thousands of historic audio recordings before they are lost forever. The collection stretches back decades and contains speeches by political leaders, traditional Somali music, poetry, drama, interviews, news reports, and recordings of major national events. Many of these are unique with no known copies elsewhere. The challenge is that the original magnetic tapes are rapidly deteriorating because of age, heat, and humidity. In many cases, the playback equipment needed to recover the recordings is also becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. Archivists are therefore working against the clock to transfer these recordings into digital formats before they become unreadable. It is a reminder that radio is far more than a way of delivering news and entertainment. For many countries, especially those that have experienced conflict and political upheaval, radio archives preserve an irreplaceable record of history, language, and culture. Once those recordings are lost, an important part of a nation's collective memory disappears with them. On to some encouraging news from here in South Africa. Government officials have once again described community radio as one of the country's greatest democratic success stories. Since the end of apartheid more than 3 decades ago, community broadcasting has grown into a vibrant and diverse sector that gives local communities a voice and provides information in many different languages. Today, South Africa has well over 300 licensed community radio stations, serving urban neighborhoods, rural villages, universities, religious communities, and special interest groups. Many of these stations broadcast in areas where commercial broadcasters have little presence, and they provide local news, educational programs, health information, emergency announcements, and opportunities for community members to participate directly in programming. Community radio also plays an important role in developing the next generation of broadcasters and journalists. Many presenters, producers, and reporters who now work in national media began their careers behind the microphone at small community stations. As a side note, I am a regular contributor to a community radio station in Pretoria. Every Tuesday morning around 06:15 local time, that is 04:15 UTC, I participate in a short news discussion on Groot FM. The name means Big FM. It is an Afrikaans language station. The frequency is 90.5 megahertz. Now on to a receiver review from a listener. Sebastian in Lingen, Germany, has been putting the new MLite-880 receiver through a series of very detailed tests. This is a radio that has generated a lot of interest in the DXing community, but it is also considerably more expensive than many popular alternatives like the Chodosin DX286. So naturally, many people are asking whether the extra cost is justified. Sebastian's early conclusion is that the answer isn't straightforward. The MLite-880 has some genuinely impressive features, but it is also much more sensitive to antenna choice than expected. His testing showed that using a simple wire antenna connected directly to the radio often resulted in increased internal noise. However, adding even a short length of shielded coax cable between the antenna and the receiver significantly improved performance. He said more testing is still underway, but this suggests that careful antenna matching is very important if you want to get the best from the radio. Here you can listen to a comparison between the Chodosin DX286 and the MLite-880 on Radio Exterior de España from Noblejas. For this test, Sebastian used a coax cable for the antenna to the MLite. You will hear the DX286 first, then the MLite.
Y desde el gobierno de Aragón informan de que proporcionarán agua y alimentos al ganado vivo en la zona, mientras que los vecinos evacuados pueden ir volviendo a sus casas de forma paulatina entre hoy y mañana. En Asín el paisaje es desolador.
Bueno, pues el término municipal está totalmente destruido.
Coche ni las horas exactas. Redacción en Valencia, Nuria Llopis, buenas tardes.
Hola, ¿qué tal? El chofer de Pradas nos recuerda las conversaciones que la investigada mantuvo en el coche mientras la trasladaba a distintos puntos durante aquel 29 de octubre, pese a que no existe separación entre ellos y en algunos trayectos estaban los dos solos. A las 8:15 de la mañana la recogió para ir al pleno del Consejo y a mediodía la llevó.
In the following test, you can hear the noise on the MLite when using a 3-meter vertical wire with no counterpoise. You will hear the DX286 first, then the MLite, first in 50 ohms mode and with 4K filter width, then the MLite-880 in high Z mode. The station is WRMI on 15770 kilohertz.
Hopefully that in around 10 days there will be hopefully enough rain for me to have store water to use.
In other side-by-side comparisons with the DX286, the results varied. On long wave, the DX286 was clearly more sensitive. On medium wave, the MLite-880 struggled in Sebastian's daytime tests, failing to receive stations that the DX286 copied without difficulty. On shortwave, the picture was more balanced. The DX286 generally produced slightly stronger signals and a lower noise floor, but the MLite-880 avoided some of the ghost or mirror signals that occasionally appeared on the DX286. On several higher shortwave bands, reception between the two radios was broadly comparable. Where the MLite-880 really stands out is in its features rather than outright sensitivity. Sebastian is particularly impressed by its excellent adjustable filters, which are among the best available in the price range, as well as its very natural-sounding SSB audio. He also says the built-in speaker is noticeably clearer than that of the DX286 and that the radio's noise reduction system is excellent. One interesting observation is that the radio's high Z antenna mode, that is high receiving antenna impedance, appears to activate an internal preamplifier, making antenna matching more complicated than simply choosing between high Z and 50 ohms. Sebastian believes this is one of the reasons why the radio's performance can vary so much depending on the antenna being used. Overall, his verdict so far is that the MLite-880 is a capable and sophisticated receiver with outstanding filters, excellent SSB performance, and very good audio. But it also appears to be much fussier about antennas than many competing radios. Sebastian stresses that these are still his early findings and that he has many more tests planned before he can make any final conclusions. If you'd like to see the full comparisons, have a look at Sebastian's YouTube channel, where he is documenting his testing in considerable detail. There is a link in the description of this podcast to his channel where you can see all his tests. Now let's move on to the reception reports for this month. There are 4 reception reports from Manuel in Monterrey, Mexico, Sebastian in Lingen, Germany, Liam in Berthoud, Colorado, and Goranko from a village near Belgrade in Serbia. Let's start with Manuel. He monitored the Night of Nights CW event. It is held each July 13th at 0001 UTC and commemorates the day the last commercial CW, that is Morse code of course, maritime transmission took place in the United States. It uses the KPH transmitter, a former commercial coastal radio station located near San Francisco, California, on the west coast of the United States. The station is now maintained by the MRHS, that is the Maritime Radio Historical Society. Volunteers run the station during weekends and on special occasions like this one. The messages for this event were sent using Morse code. Manuel says to receive this transmission in Monterrey, Mexico, he used the following setup. He used his SDR Play RSP-DXR2 with the MLite-880 Plus antenna, and he decoded the CW using FLDigi software. The SDR was set up in CW mode. He also used the ATS-20 Plus radio with the mini-whip antenna. To decode CW on this radio, he used the Android app Morse Expert. He used the USB setting to hear the signal. He monitored 3 frequencies, 6477.5 kHz, 8642 kHz, and 17016.8 kHz. The strongest was 17016.8, which had an RST between 579 and 599. It began at 0001 UTC, and he stopped listening at 0500 UTC, but the transmission was still active then. He says the transmission started with a brief history of how CW maritime communications was used during most of the 20th century. It highlighted coastal stations such as KPH and WCC, which is near Boston. It detailed the CW equipment the Titanic had, a 5 kilowatt set with an advanced rotary spark discharger. With this equipment, radio operator Jack Phillips sent distress messages. The RMS Carpathia received the signal and went to aid the sinking ship. Many messages were sent in the special transmission to honor former coastal radio stations, ship radio operators, and beloved family members. Manuel says 2 phrases during the Night of Nights transmission captured his attention. The first one was, to many of us, listening to Morse code coming through the static and selective fading has a magical effect, bringing us in touch with what radio was like in the good old days. The author of this was Tony J. Podrasky with the ham call sign W6ESE, and he was mentioned in the transmission. The other phrase was fair winds and following seas, a traditional nautical blessing, wishing a safe journey and good fortune. Manuel says it was a very long night, but it was a very interesting session. And he realized how important CW was, and in many ways still is, in radio communication. Sebastian in Lingen, Germany, also sent a reception report. On the 3rd of July, at 1745 UTC on 11995 kHz, he heard Radio Taiwan International in German direct from Tamsui. The SINPO was 44434. He heard this at home with a very high RF noise floor with 4 meters of wire thrown out of the window on his new MLite-880. Afterwards, in a lower RF noise floor area, in an outdoor location, again with the MLite-880 and 3 meters of wire, he heard the following. At 1845 UTC, 17670 kHz, Ibra Radio Sama in Arabic, SINPO of 44444. At 1915 UTC on 13845 kHz, WWCR Nashville, Tennessee in English, with a SINPO of 33443. And later at night, with his homemade indoor loop antenna and the MLite-880 at 2335 UTC on 6617 kHz USB, he heard St. Petersburg Volmet in Russian with a SINPO of 34443. On 16 July, he says he took a few days off work and he could do some crazy stuff. That's his words. So he went outdoors to a low noise floor location at 3 a.m. local time. That was 0100 UTC. He says he did not want to set up a large antenna in the middle of the night, so he only used his Chodosen DX286 with its built-in telescopic antenna. He focused on 2 stations only, Radio Tarma on 4775 kHz and HCJB Voice of Andes at 6050 kHz. He heard both of them. Here is a clip from his reception of Radio Tarma. On 18 July, 15420 kHz at 2045 UTC, Radio Romania in English with an SIO of 444. On 18 July, 15420 kHz at 2045 UTC, Radio Romania in English, SIO 444. 15770 kHz at 2100 UTC, WRMI in English, SIO 343. 15520 kHz at 2120 UTC, Radio Exterior España in Spanish, SIO 555. Also on 15500 kHz, SIO 454. 15245 kHz at 2115 UTC, Voice of Korea from North Korea in English, SIO 343. Also on 13760 kHz, also with an SIO of 343. 13640 kHz at 2120 UTC, Ifrika FM with SIO 242. The same station on 13855 kHz, SIO 141, and he had nothing on 17600 kHz, also a frequency for this station. 13845 kHz at 2125 UTC, WWCR Nashville, Tennessee in English, SIO 242. 13750 kHz at 2130 UTC, CRI in French, SIO 555. 1369 kHz at 2130 UTC, CRI in Spanish, SIO 555. And 13670 kHz at 2130 UTC, CRI in Croatian, SIO 544. These stations he received in Lingen with 4 meters of wire thrown out of his window and the MLite-880 in a high QRM environment. On 21 July, at 1915 UTC, he heard Radio Pilipinas World Service with good signals on all 3 their frequencies, 15190, 12120, and 9920 kHz. He says 15190 was the best with an SIO of 444. At 1920 UTC, he heard WRMI on 17790 kHz with an SIO of 242, but he says he could understand most of the words. He says it was much stronger on 15770 kHz with an SIO of 343. But there were different programs being transmitted on these 2 frequencies at the same time. These stations he received outdoors in Lingen with 3 meters of wire and his SWL DX286. I also have a report from Liam in Berthoud, Colorado. Liam's report includes a very interesting analog TV catch on FM. Liam shared his catches from his shortwave logbook. The following stations were received in Berthoud with his Siwadon D880 and a long wire antenna. On July the 3rd at 1330 UTC on 12015 kHz, Voice of Mongolian in Mongolian from Ulaanbaatar. The SINPO was 11441. He says the interval signal was heard faintly under QRM from Voice of Korea, also on 12015. On July the 11th at 1230 UTC on 11900 kHz, he heard Reach Beyond Australia in Chaozhou from Kununurra. The SINPO was 53544. He heard the sign-on with Kookaburras. Then the following stations he received while camping outside of Estes Park, Colorado, USA, with his Siwadon D808 and a long wire antenna. He says the noise floor was excellent with a lot of faint signals from Asia coming in clearly. On July the 13th at 0430 UTC on 15180 kHz, he heard Voice of Korea in English from Kujang. The SINPO was 45544. It was playing Korean music. On July the 13th, he heard the following stations. On 15180 kHz at 0430 UTC, Voice of Korea in English from Kujang, playing music, with a SINPO of 45544. At 0431 UTC on 15185 kHz, Akashvani in Pashto from Bengaluru, SINPO of 35533. At 0435 UTC on 4940 kHz, Estación 4940 in Spanish from Venezuela, SINPO was 35533. He says he heard music with a little bit of a fluttery signal. At 07 UTC on 13695 kHz, Radio France International in French from Isidore. The SINPO was 35533. At 08 UTC on 9695 kHz, KNLS in English from Anchor Point. SINPO 31534. He heard the interval signal and the sign-on. There was music and various religious programs, but there was strong QRM from Radio New Zealand on 9700 kHz. Liam also made a sporadic e-skip catch. It was an analog TV station from Canada. He used his 1978 Sony TV511 to DX the picture and the Siwadon D880 to DX the audio. He used the telescopic antennas on both these receivers. This was on July the 20th at 1630 UTC on 77.25 MHz that he captured the video, and on 8175 MHz he captured the audio. The TV station was CICI from Sudbury in Ontario, Canada, and he received it on Channel 5. There was a CTV midday news program being aired. Here you can listen to part of his catch.
As the dust settles, these girls will walk away with lessons for life. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The final report for this month comes from Goranko in a village near Belgrade, Serbia. He listened on his Leotech and CS106 radios. On 4 July, WWV time signal on 10,000 kHz at 0355 UTC, SIO 454. Radio Farda and the Iranian jammer on 7480 kHz at 1640 UTC, SIO 454. On 5 July, Radio Vatican in Russian on 21760 kHz at 1230 UTC, SIO 555. On 6 July, Radio Romania International in Arabic on 11700 kHz at 1200 UTC, SIO 222. China Radio International in Pashto on 9570 kHz at 1545 UTC, SIO 555. Radio Vatican in English on 15565 kHz at 1650 UTC, SIO 252. On 7 July, NHK World Radio on 9440 kHz at 0130 UTC, SIO 555. On 9 July, China National Radio in Uyghur on 13700 kHz at 1150 UTC, SIO 252. On 11 July, Supreme Master TV on 15770 kHz at 0335 UTC, SIO 353. WRMI on 15770 kHz at 0440 UTC, SIO 454. On 12 July, Sound of Hope on 15800 kHz at 1200 UTC, SIO 555. On 13 July, CRI in Bulgarian on 15180 kHz at 1130 UTC, SIO 555. On 17 July, BBC in French on 21520 kHz at 1225 UTC, SIO 353. On 18 July, VORW on 15770 kHz at 0420 UTC, SIO 252. Sound of Hope on 15775 kHz at 0421 UTC, SIO 252. On 19 July, Wavescan on 15770 kHz at 0435 UTC, SIO 555. On 22 July, NHK World Radio in Japanese on 13650 kHz at 0435 UTC, SIO 555. Reach Beyond Australia on 11900 kHz at 1245 UTC, SIO 353. Here is a short clip from his Reach Beyond Australia catch.
I'm counting on them. And so, first fruit giving brings financial wealth. Verses 9 and 10.
To end, a brief look at what we can expect in terms of HF propagation in August. The NOAA says that solar activity is expected to be at mostly low levels with a slight chance for moderate solar activity throughout the outlook period. Some coronal holes will cause active conditions on 1 August and from 4 to 5 August. And unsettled levels are likely around 2 August right through to 6 August. The remainder of the outlook period for August appears to promise some quiet conditions. As always, solar conditions change and HF propagation forecasts change. There are links in the description of this podcast where you can find the latest forecasts. And that wraps up episode 39 of the SWL DXing News Report for July 2026. Thank you for spending some time with me. I always welcome new reception reports and any news or audio clips from listeners around the world. You can contact me at andre9@duck.com. That is Alpha November Delta Romeo Echo, the number 9, Delta Uniform Charlie Kilo.com. Until next month, happy DXing from Johannesburg.